All right, Chaz Smith, welcome back. It is The Grid. It's September 14th, 2023.
What a day. Do you have a post-World Surf League Finals Day depression, David Lee Scales?
No, strangely, my life is zero different at all. One of the WSL commentators from Finals Day, in fact, messaged me and was like, does competitive professional surfing provide you any joy or pleasure at all? Like, basically,
Was this supposed to be a bash against you and your dour attitude about competitive professional surfing?
yeah, I don't know if it was a bash, but I think it was a sincere question.
Yeah.
And so I went into a, long rant essentially of just like, I love surfing so much, and it's like being served airplane. I love food so much, and this is being served airplane food. And then the flight attendant's like, geez, don't you have any respect at all for the sustenance that you're being served? And it's like, this is the shittiest meal I've had all month long, right? And so I appreciate the sustenance. That's not in question. It's just I know how beautiful food can be and how enriching it can be and how sustaining it can be and energy giving it can be and all that sort of stuff. And so that's what I feel that question is akin to. And then the response was like, so I'm going to take that as a no. I'm like, you know what? You're right. I apologize for the rant. The answer is kind of no. The answer is kind of, it's hard to watch and not identify all the shortcomings and feel kind of upset about it. And also, like, my surf experience is almost always rewarding and enriching. And what we're viewing kind of on the WSL broadcast is rarely that. It's mostly just, identifying the shortcomings, essentially.
But I think Matt Warshaw said it so very well of who cares what it is. It gives us all a chance to get together and essentially banter back and forth. I mean, I think JP Curry said it too, right? Like doesn't matter what we're being served. Like of course we would hope for better, but we're going to get together no matter what. And, chit chat.
See, I don't think that's even true because we're getting together less and less and less and less. Like this season, I watched far less professional surfing than I've ever watched in the past.
I mean, I hear you there, but I had more fun this season on for example, the Beach Grit comment live thread when I would pop on there and stuff. Like, that's the joy, right? The joy is making fun of this thing. The absurdity is that they don't understand that. And I have an idea which commentator texted you. And he should know better. This one should know that, come on, man, this is a literal joke. Like, everything 29% up in viewership numbers, and whatever the fact your sponsors are Bailey Ladders, the Candy Crush is who you're getting in bed with, right? These are not marks of a successful organization. And so it's a joke, right? I could laugh at the joke. I think this joke is hilarious. From Eric Logan to Jessie Miley Dyer's pink jumpsuit and bold glasses, all of it is a joke. The sad thing is, I suppose, the people who have committed their lives to it, the Tyler Wrights, who was robbed of a third world title, or the people who have really committed to this thing. Unfortunately, the World Surf League has made it a joke for them too. Funny for me that it's a joke. I don't imagine it's that funny for them.
You're right. I mean, it is a farce. It's objectively a farce at this point. And so I guess the joke is on me if I have not accepted that and started to just appreciate Spinal Tap for being satire rather than, not producing great music.
It would be like watching Monty Python's Holy Grail and just being really mad that the action adventure bits are not like really true to life, right? Like that, man, the stunt person they got for that, it just wasn't up to snuff.
Yeah. Well, I guess we'll get straight into it then, since we already have. But Finals Day took place on last Saturday. You and I hyped it going into the event on our last show. I'll be perfectly honest, despite how we just started the conversation, I was engaged by the day. Like, the format of the event is thrilling We actually discussed this last week as well, is having 5 surfers on either side, the men and the women's, allows you to identify strengths and weaknesses and how they're going to match up, and then invest in that in advance and watch it play out. And there was exciting storylines, the Ethan Ewing storyline, who none of us put on our teams or, picks because he was coming off of injury, and seeing him surf to his fullest potential, not even looking like he had an injury, that was super exciting. And the potential that he could dethrone, the reigning champ was super exciting. So I love the format itself, but as you stated last week as well, not great for a final event format,
I don't understand how this is an either or kind of thing, right? Like, we love the day, but it's a bummer that, it has to crown the champion. You could have this day and have it not crown the champion. Like, I don't understand why this is not it could be a mid-season, kind of. It
should be every event, to be honest.
Yeah,
it needs to be this type of structure.
Totally. It finishes in a day. It's the 5 best on either the 10 best in the world, and I don't know. Yeah, like, I was in Palm Springs as advertised, sitting poolside, not wanting to do anything but think about pro surfing. And it was so engaging that I couldn't help but lug my laptop down to the pool and sit there. And it was just on. It was on my chaise lounge there the finals day. And, like, it hooked me, right? It's a great format with great storylines that's bite-sized that you don't have to slog through. Like, every single heat is going to be a result at the end of it, right? Somebody's losing. There's no repechage or this is no, elimination round or whatever. Somebody's going home, or non-elimination round. Yeah. Somebody's going home after each and every heat, which made it fun. Like, I love it. I don't know why they don't do this. They should do this 3 times a year and have them be slams, right?
They should do
you
this.
Have the tour.
I hear you. I think it should be every event.
I still like tour surfing. I still like the 5 days of boring, and again, it's the same. It's not like this is a big mystery for other sports. Golf, I feel, has, these long tournaments, and then they have short tournaments. Cricket has long games, and they have a short version of the game. This happens in other sports. Why can't it happen here, where you do have the tour? The tour is a thing, and to win the tour is the thing. There's also, every year, 3 slams. Leave it in trestles, I don't care. There's the trestle slam, the pipe slam, and the... what would be a good third way?
Cloud break
slam.
Choper.
Perfect. And that is the 5 best men, 5 best women, and how you judge that, it could be, who knows, the slam system could be different. And there you have and if you win all the slams, wow, you're a Triple Crown winner. Like, it makes too much sense. And again, the commentator of which you speak, and all of the structure, who's like, come on, man, we're doing the best we can. If this is the best you can do, then please quit. Because I, sitting here in my little yoga room, can come up with way better ideas that would be even cheaper and easier to execute than the dumb thing you're doing now.
Okay, so a couple of things about the organization itself. I think the people making the decisions within the organization of the WSL did not grow up loving surfing. They're not true surf fans. They don't actually understand the essence of what surfing is. And so that's why they don't understand. That's why you and I, freaking podcasters, can identify a better format for surfing than they can.
But the commentator of which you speak, he grew up surfing. He knows, he lives surf and breathes surf and eats surf as much or more than anyone I know.
So that's 2 different things.
Let's just call him Chris Cote. Let's make him a secret name called Chris Cote.
Well, the people making the decision within the organization is who I'm talking about. The commentators and the surfers within the organization are not making those decisions, right? And those people are servicing an employer, and they want the paycheck. And honestly, those skill sets that they have for this expertise level that they have aren't translatable outside of surfing. So I think that they want to protect that paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, they're going to defend the org because it's in their best interest.
The Sea Org.
Exactly. And I don't think that they have confidence that the Sea Org is going to take their feedback constructively and then reorganize the organization. Therefore, they're silent or they defend it.
Well, and that's, I mean, and I have heard that from a person who has been involved with the World Surf League, that it's like a toxic organization.
which
People
is
get
why
punished and
you
it's
can't defend
rude.
it. So
I know.
that's where I then say, point to the people and go, this is going to look bad on you. Like when this all goes away, or when secrets come out or whatever, like you're going to be the one who's defending the organization that has moral, ethical, real concerns.
I wonder if I read a story today about the National Football League, how shocked were you to see the National Football League borrowed surfing's own slogan?
I saw that.
Yeah.
I was shocked.
The
to answer your
NFL
question.
this year has rolled out their, how sports leagues have, I don't know, a moniker that marks the season. The World Surf League used to have, you can't script this, which was there, you can't script this. The NFL's this year is, you can't make this stuff up, which I'll even give the World Surf Leagues is snappier.
It is.
The stinking NFL one, they're even sitting around reading scripts, right? It's like supposed to be a meeting of actors and directors and whatnot before a show or movie. Table reading is what they're called. And so it's funny. The whole concept is funny. The spots are funny. But you can't script this would be so much better than you can't make this stuff up, which I wonder if they went in and saw the world. Dang it. That's a stupid little surfing thing to this. In any case.
Well, you know what the slogan for the World Surf League was before you can't script this?
What? It takes a tour to make a title.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which it doesn't at all anymore. They've abandoned that entirely.
It takes a trestles to make a title.
Yeah.
But anyway, the NFL, I was reading today, is being sued by an NFL network reporter, which, like the World Surf League, I suppose World Surf League owns their own commentators and all this, right? I mean, they all work for the Sea Org. NFL has the NFL network, which I guess was theoretically supposed to be different, or theoretically. But one of the journalists got in trouble for pressing the NFL, because I think it was last year, where there was the Cincinnati Bengals and the Bills, I think, playing, and a player on the Bills had a heart attack on the field. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And so then they canceled the game, right? And then I think they canceled, I can't remember how long, but they definitely canceled that game for the evening. But there was initial talk that the NFL wanted the game to start again after a 5-minute warm-up period. They were going to give the players 5 minutes to warm up, and then blah, 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 blah. That came out, looked real bad, that the NFL was callous. They totally denied it. They said that is absolutely not true. We never wanted to restart the game. So this reporter for the NFL Network knew that they did want to restart it. He had the person telling him, yes, they were going to restart the game after a 5-minute warm-up. That's why you had the players on the field warming up. Anyway, he got told by his employer, don't pursue this story. He said, what are you talking about? I'm a journalist. We get after the truth, et cetera, et cetera. And they said, do not pursue this story. And so I think he got fired, and now he's suing the NFL. All to say, the NFL not only took the World Surf League slogan, they have taken their wall of positive noise. Nothing gets out.
And the jackboot, too.
Yeah, all of it.
Right?
Yep.
Crazy.
The World Surf Leagueification of the National Football League.
Yeah, wild. I never saw that one coming. The mighty influencer of the surf world.
It's always been an influencer, surf.
It really has. Yeah, quietly, mighty but powerful. Small but mighty. So back to the event itself. We like the format. The format has applicability across the rest of the season. It actually stands in stark contrast to the bloated regular event. And when Jesse Miley Dyer is talking about the 29% viewership growth over last year or whatever, I would argue the viewership, if that is true, which I'm not, I don't think it is. I think that the statistics are fudged. But I think that it's a reflection of the format itself, not a reflection of finals day, not a reflection of it being the final event of the season, it being lowers and everybody wants to see lowers. It's more a reflection of this format is so much more digestible than the other format that you guys generally run.
Yes, I can tune in and watch a sporting event from start to finish that not only doesn't take all day. Like, what time was it over? It was over on the West Coast time. I think it started like 7:30. It started pretty early, but was over by, if I recall, like 2 or something. Which is, right, a long sports day still, but again, with stakes at every turn.
Yeah.
And I don't doubt that there was more viewers this year than last year. I think people now are getting used to it, right? Like they introduced it, and then last year was the second, and then this is the third, and so I'm sure next year's fourth will be even more viewed, just as people, become used to this thing that happens. And I would imagine next year's would be more viewed if they actually move it to a wave that is decent.
Well, look, for any listeners who like podcasts and like to hear a recap of Finals Day, pause this and go right now and listen to Lenny and Kelly Slater talk about Finals Day on Lenny's YouTube channel. Kai got Kelly to sit down together while Kelly's rehabbing his hip in San Clemente and discuss Finals Day. And they do a phenomenal job of it. Obviously, they have a ton of insights that you and I don't have, and expertise that you and I don't have. But one of the things that Kelly says was, in that preamble, I forgot. What were you just talking about?
Finals Day being digestible, being a simple stakes.
Yes. And moving into a better venue. So what Kelly says was, when you see pumping waves at Chopu, let's say, like maybe we'll get in the Olympics, you don't even have to understand surfing to know what looks exciting and to know what is better surfing, right? And so it's very difficult for a viewer to tune into a Finals Day at Lowers and see Caroline Marks surf a wave and then Tyler Wright surf a wave and to know why one got a bigger score than the other. But when you're watching Chopu and it's 10 feet or pipeline, it's just instinctual to know which one is better. There's either 10s or there's 2s, essentially, when it's that big and pumping. And so that is the solve. And it is doable. Like we can run the tour in that type of waves if that is the goal of the tour. And so I think that solves kind of everything. I mean, we've talked about that ad nauseum. It's interesting, actually, hearing Lenny and Kelly get to their most salient points are all things that we've discussed here for years. It's kind of already in the ether.
Well, I mean, it's just, to me, it's like self-evident, right? It is. I don't feel like you and I are some great geniuses, which is the perpetually frustrating thing, I guess, is that none of this is rocket science. This is not stinking, you don't need advanced degrees from Harvard University in order to solve the problem, the giant conundrum of how to make professional surfing interesting. It's easy. But real quick, back to Kelly. How much do you love that he cannot help but pull focus anytime the spotlight even lightly moves off of him? Like right away I think as soon as Caroline Marks won, Kelly Slater posts a story on Instagram, sitting here after hip surgery, watching the WSL Finals Day, go Caroline Marks, so proud of you, whatever he said, right? It was all warm and good. But hip surgery, when did Kelly have hip surgery? Why did Kelly have hip surgery? There was no hint of Kelly Slater needing hip surgery. Kelly Slater did not telegraph before Finals Day or any time in the last 3 weeks, oh man, I got this thing going on with my hip, I might need to get it checked out. It's radio silent, and Kelly is not an undersharer. Kelly will perpetually share whatever, right? It's not like Kelly's a very private man and this accidentally leaked out. No, Kelly, and I don't think he does it on purpose. I think it is so part of his nature. It is so like in his heart of camera strays, get it back. And now Kelly's hip surgery is a major story that he leaks more information on. Wasn't just a hip surgery, he called it a major hip surgery. Then with Lenny, he shares the cadaver bit that he got put in. Blah, blah, blah. Now we're all talking about Kelly, at least equal to, if not greater than Finals Day.
Well, yes, and if he didn't want to leak it out in advance for whatever reason, to your point, he also didn't have to include that in his congratulations post to Caroline Marks. He could have just said, I'm watching Finals Day. Yeah, totally. There's no reason to even put the hip surgery on. And if he had enough self-awareness, he would have realized, I'm a major figure in surfing and I don't want to distract the storyline of Finals Day, so I'm not going to reveal this detail right here.
I'll wait until later. I'll say, which would have been so un-Kelly. If we would have found out, say that, because he would have revealed it at some point, but if he would have today, tomorrow, next week, revealed, yeah, as it happens, I'm rehabbing from a hip surgery that I had, right? And there was nothing to pull attention from. I would say that is so weird, but you can guarantee any bit of surf news that comes out and is somewhat major, Kelly Slater will weigh in on and toss an umbrella right up over it.
Totally.
He is the shade master. And those listening who think I am poking fun, I am absolutely not poking fun. I have never seen someone throw shade like Kelly Slater. He is like a black belt in shade.
It is jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. He chokes out any other story.
My concern about, look, we're not just complaining about the WSL and their shortcomings, right? Like, that's the other thing is, it's not in my self-interest. It's in the WSL's interest that I'm often making these kind of criticisms for. So I want the WSL to execute their goals of growth and profitability, because I guess the selfish part for me would be, I do want to see the best surfers surfing the best waves in the world. And so I want them to be successful in their goals. It's just that we see all the shortcomings and they're not going to execute their goals if they continue down this road. Now, here's my major concern as it relates to that, which is that they are going to, and they are currently and have been, eroding the trust of the world's greatest surfers. So we've talked in the past, John Florence, arguably the best surfer in the world, he's going to have less interest in doing the world tour if they continue to run in wave pools and beach breaks. He can make a living, as good of a living as he's currently making, off tour.
I can imagine he'd make a better living.
Great point.
I would imagine through YouTube, if he had like a banging YouTube through, and then he could spend more time pushing Florence and the machine, all of it. Like, he could do a better job off tour.
Totally. There's other surfers who haven't divested that much, like maybe Felipe Toledo is so heavily focused on the tour and hasn't built his YouTube following, doesn't have a brand, and his brand contracts are so tied to his contest results. So he would have a hard time transitioning. But there are, among the world's best surfers, they don't need the tour anymore. I bet Gabriel Medina doesn't need the tour anymore.
Oh.
You know what I mean? And now I've made those examples in the past, but now look at Carissa Moore. Carissa Moore, who played by their rules, and they misunderstand surfing so much, and they misunderstand their own business so much, that they actually undercut their greatest athlete. I mean, literally the greatest female surfer of all time, I think it's fair to say, would have 7 world titles at this point if the last 2 weren't snatched away by the format.
6. Last one would have gone to Tyler Wright.
Okay. Maybe so. So, but you get what I'm saying. Like, Carissa Moore has to be looking at the next season going, do I even do this anymore? And especially if she has secondary kind of, or personal ambitions that she wants to pursue, whether that's having kids or developing or charities or whatever it is, the world tour looks less and less enticing to the individual athletes.
I completely agree with you. And not only, I think, is Carissa the best, female surfer of all time, best female
surfer
on
this
tour.
Year.
Best surfer this year. Yeah. Also, I 100% agree. And for the last, decade, right? Or how long she's been around. She's also the best spokesperson for surfing as a whole. She is the best figurehead for surfing as a whole, man or woman. You don't beat Carissa Moore, right? Hawaiian, well-spoken, thoughtful, Olympic gold medalist, humble. On and on and on and on and on. She is the best. And the World Surf League has taken her and said, shoo, go away. Which is, I missed that old Sterling Spencer clip. It's time to bring it back.
He's putting out bangers every week.
It's true. But that clip, shoo. In any case, though, it'd be like if the National Basketball Association, Michael Jordan in his prime, if they were like, we're not really into you that much, like kind of go, whatever. Or if he said, if they made the game so Michael Jordan kept losing, And then they're like, I don't know. You're the most popular player and you're the best, but shoot you.
Well, interestingly, talking about Kelly Slater and his ego, or kind of whatever that is that's driving him to redirect the limelight to him. Sorry, I've been slow on that for recently. Oh shoot, that wasn't live. Listeners didn't get to hear it. Let me try.
I like turtles.
There. I got an angry email last week. They're like, dude, you've missed, like, honestly, I'm going to stop listening to the podcast. You've missed multiple opportunities to play the I Like Turtles track. You guys are talking about Kelly Slater. Anyways, what I was going to say is that if Kelly Slater was dealt this same blow that Carissa was dealt, he would have rallied a campaign against the WSL so as not to undercut his own legacy. You know what I mean? Like,
completely.
He would have rallied the troops. He would have started a change.org, whatever. Like, he would have not sat by silently. Unfortunately, Kelly's been relegated outside of the top 5 and even behind the cut line due to his own kind of inability to keep up with what's real, the most technical progressive surfing that's happening on tour. But Carissa Moore is so humble that she's quietly going to just take the punch to the gut. And her sister, of course, came to her defense on WSL's Instagram post congratulating Caroline Marks. And I'm glad that she did, because she put it really succinctly, I think.
I mean, completely. And Kelly would have gone on such like an undermining campaign that it would have been like, it wouldn't have even been change.org obvious. It would have been Kelly ego thing, like absolutely destroying and redirecting the entire organization from the inside out.
Totally.
But yeah, that's not in Carissa's, that's not who Carissa is. That's not her personality. And yeah, I'm thankful that not only her sister, but the surf community in general, I feel has got Carissa's back on this, right? Everybody's like saying, shame on you, World Surf, like shame on you. And nothing against Caroline Marks. Caroline Marks is a phenomenal surfer. She is a deserving champion at some point, just not, this is not the champion. This is not how it works.
She was the best surfer of the day, and she earned the title based on the criteria that they've dictated.
Which, and Carissa gets ripped off way more, like for the men's side, like the heavy asterisks that Philippe has to carry on his title, right? That's one thing. Philippe would have won the title no matter what, right? Like, there's nobody saying that Philippe did not win the title based on this year's waves. Like, it's unfortunate that he refuses to paddle into, you want your champion to be brave, and he's not brave, right? Which is a problem. And he has to carry that. But he's still the champion. He's still the rightful champion. Caroline Marks has to carry, I feel, like Steph Gilmore had to carry too. And Steph came out later and said, I love this format, right? I believe in it and all this. And I'm like, how? How in the world? You have to know that you weren't that last year's champion. Carissa Moore by far was last year. And Caroline has to know, was Caroline third place coming in?
I believe so. Yeah, Tyler was second, Caroline was third.
Yeah, but then and I would be curious where Tyler, somebody, I wrote about it on Beach Grip, but shuffled the points the way they actually shuffled them at the end. And so Tyler actually would have won if it would have ended, not at Trestles, but if it would have ended after Chopu. Tyler had the most points. Carissa was second, and I don't know where Caroline stood. But anyway, yeah, Caroline has to know that her title is a little bit sus.
Yeah.
Which is a bummer feeling for her.
Totally. So we're not just complaining, but we're also offering critical, or feedback, constructive criticism. The other thing that Kelly and Kai talked about, which you and I have talked about in the past, is allocating more points for marquee events. So whether they do what you were talking about, which is have this format multiple times throughout the year, they could also allocate greater points to those events or to the venue itself. So pipe is worth more, wave pool's worth less, lowers is somewhere in the middle, bells is somewhere in the middle, cloud break's worth a lot, things like that.
Totally. And Salvador is worth not very much,
Exactly.
Anyone should almost go without stating, I suppose, that any venue that the primary reason they're there is because a tourist board is paying for it should probably get less points.
Completely. we already know what the world-class waves are.
Yeah.
We allocate 10,000 points to those events. The other thing that they talked about, which I don't know if you and I have talked about really, but the value of putting a big wave on tour. And Kai was really advocating for this, and he was saying like a legitimate big wave, which he means Waimea. I would argue even, Puerto Escondido, things like that would qualify as well, because it really requires a complete surfer to do well in that event as well as they would do at lowers. Felipe Toledo, it would really limit his ability to gain points towards a world title. Gabriel Medina, on the other hand, John Florence, on the other hand, they are more complete surfers, and I think this helps flush that out a bit.
I mean, that's the thing, and Derek perpetually calls Felipe Toledo the best small wave surfer on the planet, right? Which is, I think, an accurate description of who he is. He is the best small wave surfer on the planet, which is now how we define our surfing champion, which was not so always, and especially not during the Dream Tour years where, big cloud break, sometimes Mundaka got a little bit big.
Yeah.
There was waves on tour that either could get big or were big. And now really, even J-Bay is probably one of the bigger waves on tour now, right?
That's shocking, yeah.
But that's true, yeah?
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous. Like, that... So, like, this whole thing
Margaret River might be one of them. Sunset, now that we have Sunset on tour, that would qualify.
Yeah, I mean, but still, it really is a small wave tour that rewards the best small wave surfer. And can't do any of it, but I want completeness in my surfer.
But Scott Bass put it best earlier this week, where he said, lowers right now, today, there's kids and there's old men surfing it. And there is every day. Even on the biggest swell, there's children and there's old men surfing it well.
Yeah.
And so that should not dictate a title ever. Because
great point, Scott Bass.
It is a great point because, you just would not see... I mean, I can't even think of a proper analogy for basketball or football or any of that. But it's ridiculous. You want to see the top level athletes doing things that you can't do, essentially. Yeah. That is what defines them as a top level athlete. And so if they aren't showcasing what defines them as a top level athlete in their quest for the championship, then it's completely missed opportunity for the league to actually access their greatest audience and their profitability.
I mean, I watched frame by frame a lot of that, Namibian wave. What's it called again?
Skeleton Bay, Donkey Bay.
Skeleton Bay. Like, watching the drops those guys were doing, how fast that wave was moving, how they were able to, like, generate speed. The whole thing was utterly fascinating. Knowing that I would not... Like, I'd start to get to my feet maybe there before getting pitched right over the lip. So thinking about their skill in doing that versus, I know what it's like to surf a wave at lower trestles, because guess what? I've surfed waves at lower trestles. So to watch somebody do that well, I've seen a lot of people surf well out there. It's pretty cool. But it's not like stop me in my tracks and make me look.
No. Well, I mean, Puerto Escondido has been pumping in this last couple of weeks.
Totally.
And when you see that clip pop up,
it's ridiculous. My
heart jumps into my throat, even on my phone. And you know how much more dynamic and intense things are in person, but even on my phone, I'm scrolling and Surflines comes up and you see somebody scratching in from the top on like a 9-foot board, and maybe not a 9-foot board, but you're just like, oh my, are they going to go?
Yeah.
And then they make it in and they're knifing in and you're like, that is a closeout. Is there any chance they pull into that thing? Because it looks insane. Then they pull in and you realize they're making it and they get blown out. You're like, oh my God. Like, there's no way I wouldn't even make the paddle out. No. Like, that's what it is.
Yeah, completely.
So that's what we want to see. We want to see Felipe Toledo not make the paddle out against John and Gabe out there. And then those guys go and get the bomb.
I would love to see Felipe try to surf Puerto Escondido. I mean, according to his dad, his fear is coral, right? And guess what? Puerto Escondido's sand bottom. I wonder, is he going to go?
No, he's not going. He's never been on a board that big. Well, that brings us to true grit or clickbait shit. World's most brutalized surfer Tyler Wright suffers yet another indignity as potential third title violently ripped from her trembling hands. Subtitle: an entire system called life invented to torture the beleaguered Australian.
Poor Tyler Wright.
What's the story here? How did she have it ripped?
It's true. As stated earlier, a eagle-eyed fan DM'd me and said, people keep talking about how this was Carissa's 7th world title. In fact, when you calculate the way they calculate with, I don't even know what it is, it's dropping 2 lowest or something.
It's 1 lowest before the cut.
Yeah. So whatever that is, whatever the calculation is, according to this eagle-eyed fan, Tyler Wright would have won the title this year, giving her a 3rd. But no, the world hates Tyler Wright. The world just abuses that poor, rich surfer girl. Sad.
What say more about her being beleaguered?
I mean,
What's gone wrong for Tyler?
Everything. Like, where do we start? Her dad made her surf warm water waves, made her do it as a young child, made her so good, like forced her to be so good that she got like sponsored and stuff and had to tour, like travel the world surfing. And then
shame,
like she was so good at that then people like started, companies made her put like sticker on her board and said, if you put a sticker on your board, we're going to pay you like millions of dollars to go surf. And it's like, I mean, it's one gut punch to have to do it. It's another real heavy gut punch to get paid to do it. And so just boom, boom. And then she has to like win, and she like wins and stuff, like just hammered. And then she got sick with chronic fatigue, but she came back from that and it's awful.
Well,
she had to surf again. And then she got married.
Even worse, I remember her having cramps before a heat or during a heat recently this year.
The worst. I can't believe, she had to. And she had to still surf because that's what she did. That's her job. That's what she gets paid a lot of money for.
Is everyone aware of the suffering that she's been through?
I hope so. I mean, she really does a good job in making people aware. And so thankfully, she's a really good advocate for her pain and suffering. So I trust and assume that people are aware, thankfully.
I mean, I feel like there's an autobiography here. This is a book opportunity, but I mean, I don't want to know the pain and suffering that comes from having to go through the process of write a book and then make millions of dollars off of that as well.
I don't even want to think about it. I do not want to think about writing about yourself and then making millions to write about yourself after you've had to surf for money your whole life.
Maybe I should not be putting this idea out there because I don't want to be victimizing her further.
Nope, because life does just stab forks in Tyler Wright's eyeballs.
It'll be funny if this will be a real full circle ironic moment if she was unaware of that mathematical detail, but she learned about it from your article on Beach Grit, and then she feels victimized by the math and then actually campaigns about it, but she learned about it from your satirical article.
It would be a wonderful full circle. I wonder if Tyler Wright, and I hate to pick on Tyler Wright, and I am picking on her. Yeah, I'm just picking on her. But how unaware do you have to be of suffering in the world to, as a millionaire surfer, to say that you also are victimized daily?
I think that is the modern mentality.
But I mean, my goodness, like I suppose so, but even most people of privilege, right? Like people who live in beach coast or, beach towns and stuff like that. Like clearly you are already doing okay. Like, and of course life throws curveballs at us all and blah, 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 blah. But like basically everybody is worse off than you.
Everybody.
And like truly everybody is worse off than Tyler Wright. And so and the fact that she goes on and on about it, it's not like I make this stuff up. She's the one who gives long interviews about her pain and suffering.
Yeah, it takes a very, very narrow scope of the world and a very focused scope on yourself to feel that way. Which
I suppose is a professional athlete, right? Which is, I've always forgiven and realized, I've been around a bunch of pro athletes now, do the wife's job. And you realize that's what separates a pro athlete, or I realize that's what separates a pro athlete from you or me, is real self-focus. You have to. There's no other way you're going to be great unless you are fixated on yourself and your needs and your diet, nutrition, and your gym workout and your sleep. Like, nobody who's like just chill about everything goes on and is a champion.
Great point. Lauren was watching the VMAs last night. Did you watch, or were you aware they're happening?
I didn't. I read about a couple incidents, but didn't watch any.
Okay, well, firstly, I don't know any performer that won an award. Like,
What about
they
Taylor
say
Swift?
they say their name, and it's just like, who? Like,
What about Ice Spice?
nope, no clue.
Austin's got to get old quick.
Okay.
He'll help you.
Well, one of the women who won an award, whose name I don't know, I was just in passing. I was walking into the kitchen or something like that, and the woman was accepting her award on stage, and she's thanking a couple of people, thanking her daughter, who is the love of her life, and gives her inspiration and all of that. And that was all like in the first 8 seconds. Then she spent the next minute saying, and most of all, I thank myself.
Yep.
Because I am the one who did the hard work. I am the one who persevered through the suffering to do this, to make this album, to share with all of you, and blah, blah, blah. And I was like aghast. Like, even if you felt that way, how could you possibly state that publicly? Because there must be a public backlash tomorrow, and they're going to strip away your award, and they're never going to buy your album again. And then I realized 3 seconds later, nope. People are cheering her on. People are like, you're right. You are the best. You do deserve your own thanks.
You're empowered.
Yes.
Yeah, but that's true. But it's also true that has to be the mindset, I feel, for anyone who really reaches the next level. Like, rarely, and I think that you'll have like a Carissa Moore, and I know Carissa is, from all accounts, is as humble and as humble and great and kind-hearted and all this, as people say. But she also has to have a bit of dog in her in terms of, I need this now for me. And or maybe her support system, her husband and stuff, is so great. Husband and manager, all of them are so great that they have carved out room for her because they know that's what she actually needs to be great. But they don't want to make her say it.
Yes. But in the past, when it took exactly what you're talking about, their forward-facing or public-facing persona would be humble and gracious and, congratulating the person who lost and things like that. It would be ExxonMobil, profit at all cost, but the PR campaign is
saving the earth.
We're saving the earth, and by the way, our employees are treated better than any other employees and all this kind of stuff, but that's just the way you go, because public could be duped. What I'm shocked by now is that public embraces the narcissism.
Which do you like better? Do you like a honest assessment, or do you like a fairy tale version? Like, paint me a nice picture, even though I know it's not true.
I mean, honestly, maybe you're right. Maybe the modern version is better. Maybe the wearing the heart on the sleeve and showing exactly who you are up front is the better version.
I wonder if, on this same note, have you been following Joe Jonas's divorce from Sophie Turner?
I don't know who Sophie Turner is, but I saw the headline that they were getting divorced.
You do know who she is. She is the princess, queen at the end of Game of Thrones.
I didn't watch Game of Thrones.
Oh, and you don't know who Sophie Turner is. In any case, so they're getting divorced, right? Celebrity divorce. Celebrity divorce has its own tone and feeling. Things get leaked to the press from PR camps about celebrities. And I think these things used to be taken at face value, right? So with this particular celebrity divorce, the public is now savvy enough, or there's people enough in the public who are savvy and have platforms to share, that they're saying, this is how this game is played. Watch. So first, there was the report came out before the divorce was announced that Joe Jonas was looking after the kids. They have 2 kids together. He was looking after them full time while on tour, right? So, i.e., she's a bad mom. Then there was another report that he saw from somebody close or somebody new who he saw something on a Ring door cam thing that suggested something bad. You don't know what it is, but i.e., she's either having an affair or being abusive to the kids. All this stuff. But now people are saying Joe Jonas is getting tarred, probably rightly, for like, how dare you put this PR flack crap out in the world? Where I think in the past people would have taken it at face value of, oh man,
Yeah.
Sophie's, a bad mom or whatever. Now people are like, this is all straight PR spin. How dare you? So to the MTV, whatever, VMA person,
Yeah.
maybe she just knows, I'm not going to spin this stuff anymore. People will be able to read through my spin no matter what. So I'm just going to go out there and say, I love this girl right here.
Unashamedly.
Yeah.
Fascinating.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, thinking
PR's
about that,
dead.
thinking about the Jonas thing is, if you truly loved your wife and kids, you would never put those stories out anyways.
No.
Even if they were true, even if she was a bad mom and doing those things, you would not publish that story because you want to protect the dignity of the kids and all that sort of stuff.
You have children with the woman. Like, it is, even if you decided to really dislike her at some point, you still have kids. Like, it's one thing to get divorced and tar the other person if you're single. It's bad taste, but it is what it is. Fair game, I suppose. Whereas if you got kids, what are you doing? Why are you doing that?
Interesting. Well, the other clickbait story that I have to question you about is, quote, historically important liberal American magazine publishes steamy expose on forecasting giant Surfline.
This was clickbait, David.
Oh.
Please. Did you read the story? The Surfline story, the Atlantic story?
No.
It was so tepidly boring. Like, I mean, the good parts were, I suppose, like, I think there's a real story there, right? And with Surfline, and Surfline, I think, not just Surfline, but I'd say Surfline, the WSL, let's just call it Big Surf, right? Big Surf serving an audience something that the audience is revolting against. Like, from World Surf League's post yesterday, was it the post praising Caroline Marks, I think, where that just...
End of the era.
End of the era, exactly. That just got hammered in the comments by the surf fans, right? And I know that, and basketball fans and football fans, they're not like 100% pro NFL or pro NBA or pro NHL or whatever it is, right? Like, there's always detractors to any league. Soccer famously has, or the FIFA, a lot of people think it's corrupt and awful and blah, 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 blah. But I would think that the hatred amongst World Surf League fans for the World Surf League, also the hatred for Surfline, and I'm going to put them all in the same package here. There's a real story there that the Atlantic didn't kind of scratched a tiny bit, but not really. I wish that it was steamy. Like, why? Because it teased, the tease at the start was, why do surfers hate this thing that's really good for them, right? Why do surfers hate this tool they use? And there was quotes from Warshaw and from Finnegan, and there was some good interviews and stuff like that, but otherwise it was just absolutely boring. It was like,
Gotcha.
People think that cameras are going to overcrowd a beach, and so I guess they don't. Okay, cool. What, like, gotcha. It was
Surface
tepid,
level.
a tepid story.
Well, it relates to a listener line call that we can go to real quick.
Hey there, this is Joe. This could be for the Spit Grit or whatever you see fit, but the year's 2035. Thankfully, the robots are not surfing. However, robots have taken over most jobs, and the majority of the populace is getting universal basic income, freeing up their time to surf all week. Apple, who bought Surfline and brought the camera to every inch of the coast, has worked in partnership with local governments to mandate Apple Watches in the lineup. AI, combined with these cams and watches, has made the ocean no different than a local street. Perfect, right? Due to congestion in the water, surfing is dictated like a traffic light. If you are closest to the peak and it's your turn, you get a green light on your watch and you can go. Now, infractions are going to get you a timeout and maybe your surfboard impounded. Due to the recent scarcity of waves, self-powered surfboards are relegated to Wednesdays and Fridays, much like watering your lawn in Southern California back in the 2020s. Is this what we wanted? Did this all start when that beach in Australia mandated leashes for all and we invited government into the lineup? Wasn't it Joel Tudor who rallied against this and who could have saved us from this dystopian future? If this is what the future looks like, I don't want to be there.
A little bit difficult to hear.
Dystopian, though. I heard very dystopian overtones, David Lee Scales, about the robot, about big government running the lineup.
Dystopian surf future. He started out by saying the year is 2035, and the robots, thankfully, are not surfing, but everybody, everything's been so regulated essentially that you get green light to go, you get told when it's your turn, all that sort of stuff. Everybody's forced to wear an Apple Watch and track their behavior. And is that direction where we're going? Is that the direction we're going?
I mean, I think this is obviously, above and beyond. But I think the sad part is people would welcome that. There's so many people in the lineup right now who would say, yes, please, right? Like, this is out of control. I'm not getting any waves, blah, 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 blah. Let's put in a fair, equitable system, and then it works for everybody. And so let's invite this in, which, I mean, never, I would say, or I don't know about never, but very, 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 very rarely has, or in my opinion, has a regulated, like heavy regulation on something done well.
Well, interestingly, I finished that call and I thought, he just described wave pools.
Yeah, essentially.
I mean, that is what a wave pool is. You take your turns. It's all orderly. You know what the wave is going to do. And it kind of reminded me of, this is the nexus point in surfing where things go this way and go this way simultaneously. And if you played it out like he talked about in 2035, Mad Max Fury Road is in the ocean, and the Felipe Toledo is doing what he's doing in wave pools. I mean, Felipe's basically a robot at lowers. Yeah. You know what I mean? And so I think we can have both things. I prefer, where I would rather spend my time and energy and all that kind of stuff, but it really is, I think this is the nexus point.
I mean, and it's true. And wave pools, I think the part of the regulation thing that works in a wave pool is that it is an infinite resource there. Waves are infinite because they're getting pumped out, right? What makes the ocean different is that different swells hit places differently on different days and do different things. And, there's only so many. I mean, I still giggle. Rarely go to the Intership, but still giggle every time I do go because and I don't know how they haven't changed this yet. It is so dorky, but their pop-up thing that, to sign up to their newsletter says weekly, free, like a set wave. And I'm like, well, you guys are such nerds. When is a set wave weekly? B, when is it free? Like, if you are out on a good swell and the sets for all, it's like that set wave, to even call it a set wave is dorky, but that set wave is a very finite resource that there's going to be a lot of people battling over, and you better bring your A game in order to get that set wave, right?
That's so funny.
It's like peak dork.
It is. Well, the Mad Max Fury Road thing is it makes a lot of sense. Like, there's beauty in it. You know what I mean? Like, it looks, on first glance, it looks like chaos and brutality. But in reality, it is actually the most organized system.
Yeah.
I mean, it's even more organized than the dystopian wave pool scenario that they just gave, which is just dictated by rules that were made in a room somewhere for people who are eventually going to show up to play by these rules. They're not actually made by knowing what the resource is like, you know what I mean? Like, in real time, knowing what the resource is like and who's qualified to partake in the resource.
I mean, yeah, wave pool rules are paper thin. They are, A, B, C, D. They're no deeper than that. Whereas the rules out in the ocean, there's complex layers of rules,
exactly, yes,
like on top of each other, about rules dealing with, yes, on the surface, person at the peak has right away, but sub-tier. How good is that surfer? Sub, did somebody paddle, back paddle? Sub, is that person a local? Like, it's like a choose your own adventure rule book where, okay, I got it. And everybody I feel in the lineup is computing that individually, but in real time. And there's enough shared
Yes.
Yes, the best surfer closest to the peak is the one with the right of way traditionally. But local supersedes that if the local is, but local within reason, right? Like the local can't just paddle, go. Like then local deserves to get burned. I mean, all of this, that's what makes surfing fun. The dynamic biosphere of that moment and of that like community interaction is way more fun than wave pool. Like, okay, I know it's my turn now because I was in line.
You nailed it. I mean, this distills everything. Is the principles that are taught and shared in a kind of communal space, headspace, and shared from generation to generation in surfing are the rules of nature. It is a microcosm that represents a macrocosm. And so when I'm raising Austin, I don't need to tell him, if you pick up this cup and drop it, it's going to hit the ground. And then also when you pick up a ball and drop it, that ball's going to hit the ground. And every individual thing that he doesn't have to learn that everything is going to hit the ground. I need to teach him the principle of gravity.
Yep.
And once he understands the principle of gravity, he can just walk through life and understand how life works, and that's what surfing is. But the wave pool here is the detailed, like you said, A, B, and C rules, not learning the principles.
Yep. I mean, and then Austin can also learn, oh, wait, this feather drops at a different rate.
Totally.
This, right? There's like, it's not just, I mean, it's, yes, everything drops, but some things drop quicker than other things. Unless things reach terminal velocity, and then all things will drop the same, like all of these various things, which the complexity and texture is the joy of life. And I guess back to Philippe in this scenario, I would imagine Philippe would prefer the wave pool thing. Philippe has not shown that he wants to push himself. He has not shown that he likes challenge there is a challenge that he refuses to overcome, which makes me think, okay, this guy doesn't like to be challenged. This guy would prefer simple, easy, everybody knows the same thing, right? Where I don't like that.
No, I agree. He prefers, give me the criteria and I'll do it to your criteria better than anybody else.
Unless that criteria is at a place that I don't like, then I won't even try.
Correct. Well, correct. I think, Dane Reynolds, for example, or Tom Curran, famous surfers who have chosen to forego the contest format and go pursue it. They want the adventure. They're like, I want to show up in a spot. I want swell to present itself or not, and then figure out the best dance to do based on this rhythm that comes my way.
I mean, even Dane, when he was on tour, it never felt like he was surfing to the criteria. It always felt like he was like surfing like he wanted to surf. He was way riskier than he should have been, right? Like so much of the time when a little turn would have given you the point you needed to... or the point whatever of a point you needed to go on. But nope, I'm going to throw everything at this turn.
Well, that's what I was telling Scott earlier this week is the greatest concern of mine for Caitlyn Simmers. She's bringing Dane Reynolds' raw innovation to the tour on the women's side, which the women's side, aggression, is what the women's side has
Some
lacked.
of her turns at lowers were epic, like all crouched and throwing buckets of spray.
So the women's tour has lacked aggression, full stop. Caitlyn's bringing that. The worst thing that can possibly happen is that she amends her surfing for the criteria, or that she links up with a coach who then tells her, you know what, tone it down. Surf 70% and complete the ride, and you will win 90% of the heats.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's going to, and that's kind of further evidence of what we're talking about, of the WSL's format homogenizing all the surfing, and also the athletes, the world-class athletes' trust being eroded by the structure.
I mean, I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and I'll say it 30 more times over the next year, is I don't understand why heats have to be judged wave to wave. That way, Caitlyn Simmers' aggression would be rewarded. If the judges are going to say, go out, we're going to judge your wave, but we're going to mark them up against each other at the end, then safety, and we are going to equally weight aggression with finished rides, right? Like we're gonna
Exactly.
Push everybody. Okay, I can't just finish this ride because somebody else is going to finish it with aggression, right? But if you're judging each wave at a time, then you're just getting, okay, that's, who knows what's going to come next. So you have to judge that wave with a whatever it is. But if you're judging the complete body of work against a complete body of work, to me, then you're forcing the surfer to surf outside of the box every heat.
Yep. It's a great
Because the other surfer might.
Yeah. Well, listener line, if you want to leave a call or leave a message for us, it is the number is 760-237-0150. You could find it on surfsplendorpodcast.com. Leave us a message about anything and everything. Feel free to ask us a tool to live by if you need guidance for anything in your life. VayerWatches.com helps support this segment and also gives everybody the greatest gift that they could have, which is perpetually accurate timekeeping.
It is the most accurate timekeeper that I have. Love my Vayer watch. Wear my Vayer watch. Use my Vayer watch.
VAER watches.com. Promo code Splendor15 for 15% off. And these things are waterproof, free. Look at that, Chaz.
Bezel.
Easy returns, free U.S. shipping, waterproof warranty, powered by the sun. These have solar cells under the dial, so it doesn't look, when you see like an electric vehicle and it looks freaky, this just looks like a regular watch. It just happens to have a solar power dial. Yeah.
I'll tell you, if you're a watchman or a woman, get a Vayer and throw it in the lineup. Like, I wear mine. I wear more than one watch a day. Anytime, though, I'm ready to go to the beach or do something active, go up and change into the Vayer. That is my tool for timekeeping in the wild.
And it looks great.
Yep.
Classic dive watch design. Well, listener James in San Sebastian reached out and said, hello, I have recently invested in some earbuds. They are great, especially on long journeys, flights, or when you're on a train, et cetera, but I have recently noticed that I've been wearing them more and more when walking around and doing my errands. As someone fast approaching 40, I have a feeling that this is somewhat unbecoming, and I've made a conscious effort to do away with them, and thus the need to be constantly entertained. What do you guys think about this? What are the rules regarding age and earbuds? When is it acceptable to use them? And also, what types are okay? Presumably the Beats by Dre and those types are unacceptable. Anyways, keep up the work, James in San Sebastian.
Great question, James. Thank you for asking. For me in my house, ear or AirPods or earpods or whatever, they're okay for running or working out. They are okay on an airplane. They are okay listening to podcasts in podcast listening time. That's it. There is no entertaining ourselves to death, needing either music or something, jibber jabber, anything out in the world constantly is a no-no. I think you have to go on a diet, go on an entertainment diet.
I agree. Like, I didn't even think about that part of his question because I was just remembering back in the day before earbuds, or AirPods, I guess, the guy who would wear the Bluetooth thing that like hooks over the ear and is this big, almost a cell phone connected to your ear, walking into the coffee shop, shouting into it. Like, that was the most annoying thing in the world, right? And then he wouldn't be on the phone, and he would leave it in all day long just so that you knew he was some important businessman who constantly needed to take calls. That guy was the most annoying person in the world. And so I was thinking about the question from that angle, which is, this is a little more discreet, but you still see this person who constantly has it in. And so the question would be, when do you take it out when you interact? Maybe you're wearing it in the grocery store and then you want to interact with the cashier. Do you pop it out of your ear? Because maybe your music is paused at this point, but they don't know that. And you're signaling to them that they're not that important because you're still listening to something in your ear,
I think from time to time, like if you were engaged and listening to this podcast right now and it's just so good that you can't turn it off, that's all fine and good from time to time. But I think in general, when out in public, unless you're working out and not going to be engaged, If there's a chance you're going to be engaging with people, leave the AirPods at home.
Yeah, I agree with you, because now thinking about it from the angle that you took, which is we don't need a steady stream of entertainment. And
No.
in fact, it's probably hurting us in some way.
For sure it is. Let your brain, when's your mind ever going to have time to wander if it's constantly being stimulated, right? It's important to go out and just stare into space sometimes. It's important to be without constant entertainment. I have a friend who unfortunately had something kind of bad happen, had to be in a hospital, and it was like, is jonesing so bad for her phone that it's like she is willing to do anything to get out of the hospital to go get her phone again, which is like, no, man, that is a serious addiction. We are seriously addicted to constant entertainment, and it's time for each of us to knock it off.
It's totally true. I always think about like Disney adults, and I'm like, you are so invested in Walt Disney's dream. You know what I mean? Like, live your own dream. Like, go do something on your own. Like, that man's creativity was awesome, and it's admirable. But
and it's great to dip into from time to time. Like, I love going to Disneyland.
Totally. But to then live inside of that person's world, so much so that you're going to spend all of your money on that thing, decorate your entire house, like, all of it is... I don't know what it is, but this reminds me of that, which is I'm never going to be alone with my thoughts. I'm going to constantly be streaming other people's thoughts and creativity and, pieces of art and all that sort of stuff, because I have nothing of my own going on, and I'm not even going to take enough of my time to generate something on my own. It's strictly going to be input, no output.
Exactly. Let your mind go to seed. It's important when plants go to seed. Guess what happens? More plants grow.
There you go. James and San Sebastian, I hope that helps. Take a break every once in a while.
Yep, that's it.
Okay, cool. Let's go to commercial break, and then we'll come back with Barrel or Not.
Let's do it.
Quick commercial break, Chaz, because we forgot to open the show with drinkag1.com/surf.
Guess who's on AG1? I already said it, I think, but the wife is on AG1 now?
Epic.
My wife? She wasn't before. She's been on AG1 about a month now, I think. And guess what she told me the other day, David Lee Scales? Without me asking.
Productivity's at an all-time high.
She just came in the kitchen and said, "You were right." And I said, "About what?" And she said, "About AG1." And she said, "I'm healthier. I feel better. Digestion's better. Every part of everything is better. You were right." Simple as that. Then left the kitchen. And I looked at my AG1, and we did a little fist bump.
You guys should do the thing where you cross arms and, like when people get married and they drink the champagne out of their
It'd be
glass.
beautiful.
Yeah, it would be. It would be a good drinkag1.com/surf commercial right there.
It would. If you're a listener, my wife is picky and tough. She's a tough customer. Good enough for her, good enough for you.
Sweet. drinkag1.com/surf. Chaz Smith, Barrel or Not, presented by Buell, buellsurf.com.
Getting chilly in the water. Can't wait to pull on my Buell.
I have a feeling this first one is going to fall in line with our Tools to Live By segment, but I'm going to give it to you anyways. Barrel or Not, watching TV to fall asleep.
It's no barrel to watch it to fall asleep. If you need TV to fall asleep, you're doing something wrong, right? Like, go take a lap around the house or unplug from that thing. Watching TV before sleep, though, is one of life's great pleasures.
Okay. Watching TV in bed, then.
Yeah.
Because
great pleasure. Barrel.
I'm going against it. I'm going, this is no barrel.
I know there's the people who'd get the TV out of the room. You'll have more intimacy. Things will be better. No. TV before bed, sitting down. It's like, I like TV. And I'm not talking about junk here, David Lee Scales, because guess what? We live in the future where there's no such thing as junk anymore. I mean, there's a lot of junk, but we don't have to watch it. You and I, there is so much content. We can go pick something A+ every single night. It can be a series. It can be a foreign film. It can be a new film. But it can all be quality. Watching right now? What are you watching right now?
I'll tell you what we just finished last night that was surprisingly good. Bones and All, the Timothy Chalamet movie.
Ooh, okay. Bones and all.
Yeah, new Timothy Chalamet movie. It's on Amazon Prime. Luca, what's that filmmaker's name that made Call Me by Your Name?
Dubrovnik. Luca something.
Luca
Messina.
Guadagnino or something, some
Yeah.
Italian. Anyways, that's what I just watched, and it's excellent.
I honestly don't see how Call Me by Your Name isn't burned in public squares all the time. I can't believe that it's still even ever playing anywhere.
And it's revered.
It's like a fully fine movie about Armie Hammer, who's now entirely canceled, having basically a pedophile, like, grooming and seducing a young boy, essentially, who looks a lot younger on film. Like, Timothy Chalamet in that movie looks about 12. And so you have a clearly old dude grooming and having a sexual relationship with a 12-year-old boy. And everybody's like, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful love story.
And even his dad, in the movie, Timothy Chalamet has this moment with his dad towards the end where his dad's co-signing it.
Yeah. No,
His dad's kind of like, hey, man, when you're in love, their age is no factor. Like, you embrace it. You know, it's a rarity in life.
It is an insanely pedo-friendly movie.
It is.
With a starring a man who's canceled. And still people like, that movie, though, it spoke to me.
Yeah. Anyways, what are you watching? Were you going to say something that you were into right now?
Yeah, I'm watching One Piece on Netflix, which is shockingly fun. It's me and the kid are watching it. And yeah, which she knew about it and was annoyed and didn't want to watch it at the start. But now we're both so involved that it's possible to pull the plug. But yeah, One Piece was a Japanese pirate manga, comic book thing. That I think they turned into something, and now it's this. I think they turned it into a cartoon, and now it's this live action. So it's Japanese manga pirates.
Interesting.
Yeah, good.
I have not been fed that.
Good stuff. Exactly.
Well, I'm going no barrel on. The original one was falling asleep while watching something.
No barrel on that.
That's definite no barrel because it is a stimulant no matter how you put it. And I know people are like, I know, but my brain's running and I need to stop. This like distracts me from my own brain. Or get over it. Like get past your brain is running full speed and learn how to deal with that. Learn how to slow your brain down because adding a stimulant is never going to give you the fullest night of sleep.
Yep.
And sleep is among the most important things after drinkag1.com/surf.
Oh man, I can't sleep sometimes, so I just like rack rails of cocaine on the counter and just take it down.
The people that make that argument, 10 years later, they're still complaining about not having slept well. You know what I mean? And it's like, so it's only a Band-Aid to get you through till tomorrow morning. It's not actually helping you live your life.
Exactly.
So,
but I'm barrel though. I am barrel for TV in bed.
Okay, I'm going no TV in the bedroom, full stop. Enjoy your TV before bed, but do that in the living room.
Do it. That's lounging.
Okay. All right, moving.
Sublime.
Agree to disagree. Moving on. Number 2, this comes from a listener, barrel or not. Oh, and by the way, this is one that's come in more than any other. And I've never actually included it, I don't think, because I don't see this very often, but maybe you do. And maybe it's an Australian thing more than it is an American thing. I'm not sure. But anyways,
let's see.
Barrel or not for you, if this hasn't already been asked. Driving around with your wetsuit hanging off the side mirror.
We've done this.
Oh, we have? Okay.
We barrel or not this, and if I recall, I think it was a tepid barrel. I think I was all in fact. I think I was like, let your I just went surfing flag fly. I'm down with it. I think that, I don't know what I said the first time, but this time, I see this all the time around here. All the time.
I never
all
see
the time.
this.
All the time. I think it's like you're like living in right next to the beach thing, because then you're seeing people. You wouldn't ever do this going up the 5, right?
No.
Like, you're not going to do this for a long distance. This is going to be, I'm going 4 blocks away, blah, blah, blah. But I'm all about it. I'm like, yeah, man, you went surfing. Let me know about it. I'm in.
So not only do I not see it, but I think that there's a real practical concern here too, which is just if you have an old van, let's say, that has like those steel bars that the mirror is attached to, it's going to rust those bars. If you have a modern car that has actual mechanics inside of the contraption, the side view mirror, it's going to potentially malfunction those mechanics because it's wet.
So here's what I say to that. I think this is something, again, that only happens right for those people who live on the beach, and those people's cars are already rusty and their mechanics are already shot. Like, there is no way to keep sea air out of all your things.
Is there a way to keep sea water out of them and not putting your wetsuit on it? I'm like, look, if your argument is I don't want to get the environs of my car wet inside, you know, then you're an idiot and you shouldn't be surfing. Like, a part of surfing and having a wetsuit is the wetsuit goes in your car, get a plastic bin. Like, there are certain solutions. Hanging it on your side view mirror serves no purpose.
I would love for somebody to call in and tell me the purpose, because as far as I can tell, the only purpose is to advertise that you went surfing. It is a straight vanity thing, which I'm all down for. Like, show me.
That's totally
because I'll see people doing it in Toyota Tacomas, so you know they rip to begin with, but also you know they have a bed of their truck. Toss that thing in your bed. No, because then nobody sees it. They are letting their I just went surfing freak flag fly.
Well, the other thing is, I know the obvious argument is, no, you hang it on the side to let it dry. But my argument is, if you're only doing it because you live within 5 minutes of the beach, that's not long enough to let it dry anyway.
Precisely.
Yeah,
Precisely.
no. So nullify.
There's no practicality other than look at me, barrel.
Okay, I'm going no. All right, final barrel or not. Also comes from a listener. Hey boys, I sat down to pee today. I'm embarrassed for myself. It involves a lot of variables at this age. I'm 52. But barrel or nah, as a male, sitting down to go number one.
100% barrel, stand-up tube. Particularly, I will say, if you live in any kind of mixed company. So the people who should stand up and pee, and should really, for that matter, put a urinal probably in their house, are gay men, or a man who never ever wants to have a woman in his life and maybe has a couple sons or whatever. Otherwise, if you're living with a woman at all, no, I'm not talking about standing up peeing in a public place. Of course, use the urinal, or if you're at a man's restroom, you know, kick the lid up with your foot and stand away. But in your own home, sit down, for pity's sake. What are you, a caveman?
You could sit on the urinal too, by the way. It's kind of a perfect little...
It is. I mean, it
little
is.
resting spot.
Should be done. But David Lee, I have a feeling that you stand in your house to urinate.
Well, 100% I do. But it's interesting that this email came through this week, because I am getting older. I am now 40. I'll be 42 shortly. And flow rate has gotten a little bit slower than it used to be. And I notice a dribbling effect that didn't used to be there. I used to be able to hit the toilet from 5 feet away and not lose a drop. And now I'm kind of standing over it, maybe scrolling my phone at the same time. And then I glance down and I'm like, how did I miss the toilet? I'm standing right over it.
Solve that problem. And not only solve that problem, do it as being thoughtful for somebody else, being thoughtful to your wife who, hey man, I care about you so much, I'm not going to have you sit in my piss.
I like how you're like, gay men or men with children where there's not a woman in the house, as if they don't care about cleanliness.
But they may not care about cleanliness, or may care about cleanliness, but they also can all stand, right? Like, you could have a designated, hey, this is our pisser and that's our shitter. Yeah. In that scenario, right? Where if you're with a bunch of other dudes, and or if your gay husband is unrelenting, if he's like, I'm not going to sit down, then if you can't beat him, join him, right? I'm not going to sit in your piss then, so I guess I'll just piss all over the seat too. But it's not clean. Like, I'm saying, full on. And what's the point of not sitting at home? Does somebody feel more like a man? Is somehow standing in the comfort of your home manly? You're already a big baby in the comfort of your home. You have like a soft little...
In my head, without really analyzing it like I am now, standing was convenient.
How's it, especially if you're scrolling your phone, how's it any more convenient than sitting?
It's not, now that I think about it. But
Yeah.
if you're going to stand, all you have to do is unbutton and unzip. Whereas if you're sitting, you have to drop trowel.
That's true, but let's be practical. How high are you keeping your pants when you're standing? I mean, are they like just right there? Do you like unzip the zipper and snake it right through?
No, it's unbutton, unzip, so it becomes a V, and you can then splay out over the V. But
That's what you do?
the pants stay on the hip.
But okay, so I'm going to say though, if like the effort of pant over hip
Is the deciding factor.
is the deciding factor, plus the comfort and ease of sitting, is to me sitting is an absolute no-brainer in the house.
Yeah,
Again-
I'm kind of sold at this point, but again,
Yeah.
it's more related to the flow rate situation where
It, like-
I used to the mouth of the toilet was a giant target for me, like more size of a target than I needed for 38 years, and now I'm realizing it's not big enough. Like it's strangely hard to hit now.
Yeah, and
I
imagine
get it.
every time you're missing, do you just look at it and think, "Dang it, now I got to clean the floor"?
No, I feel bad for whoever's coming next that has to clean the floor. I'm just kidding.
Yeah,
I don't think I hit the floor. I hit the rim, and
Sure,
then
but
maybe
even
that
that-
splatters onto the floor.
But yeah, I don't standing again. This is comfort of home and or guests. Also, any guest's home, right? Any guest's home with women. If you're going to your gay friend's house, then stand and pee away. But
Yeah.
any home that has a woman inside, do the right thing.
Okay. I may be a convert here today,
Yep. Good.
transitioning into the sitting phase of my life.
Give it a go. Give it a week. Let's talk about it next week.
How was the traffic out to Palm Springs last week?
Minor, but from here, there's multiple kind of back ways to go.
Yeah.
Which I think you're basically stuck with the 10, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. We had, but it was minor.
Okay.
It was even minor, I think, on the 10.
Okay, good. Yeah, I think also you left on Friday. I'm leaving on Thursday.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Okay, good.
Yeah, what's in Palm Springs?
Lauren's birthday, we rented a house and got the family coming over and the pool and all that sort of stuff. So we're just doing like a full weekend out there.
You are lucky there's no professional surfing on to take you away from the simple and sheer beauty of being in Palm Springs.
It is beautiful, isn't it?
Love it. So
I've grown
good.
to love it. Yeah.
Yeah.
My parents retired actually out there. They spend half the year out there. So I've, for the last 8 years or so, really grown to love it and appreciate its beauty. And then the architecture, of that mid-century modern thing going on downtown, and the restaurants are great. And I really do enjoy it. So we're going to have a nice time, I think. And it's one time where, because there isn't professional surfing on, and I feel like this is my last podcast of the week, I can check this box and just shut the computer and actually enjoy a vacation without being obligated to check in and do things.
Perfect.
I know. It'll be nice. All right. Well, that wraps up this week. That wraps up the 2023 WSL season, which, by the way, Barton Lynch made a great point. The Stoked Bloke podcast, if you want to go listen to that, which he's like, it's so bizarre wrapping the season, not only not at Hawaii, but before the Hawaii season even starts, is like a complete misunderstanding of surfing. To be done, and the greatest part of surfing is still ahead this year, is insane.
It's ridiculous. It is ridiculous.
Yeah. Anyways. All right, we'll be back here next week. Go to beachgrit.com. In the meantime, go to surfsplendorpodcast.com if you want to support us or our sponsors, of course, Veyer Watches, buellsurf.com, and drinkag1.com. Go to @surfjournalist if you want to laugh, and go to @surfsplendor if you want to see what we look like on camera. Until next week.
Bon voyage.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much. Safe travels.
Thank you very much.